South Africa, the continent's most advanced economy, has moved from energy crisis to energy stability. Earlier today, the minister in charge of electricity and energy, Gosensho Gomaramogopa, provided updates on the state of electricity at his regular monthly press briefing. The minister spoke to sweeping reforms to break the monopoly of the state-owned utility giant Eskom and diversify electricity generation. And there is more. Let's listen.
To announce that we have now transitioned from a crisis to a catalyst, that the lights are on and the lights will remain on. So that's the assurance we're giving to the South African population. But what is significant is that we need to answer a future question. So what is that future question is the following. If the economy were to grow at the rate of 3 percentage points year on year, and we are able to accelerate our effort to achieve universal access, we have made the point that there's about 1.59 million customers who don't have access to electricity. If we were to connect all of those, the economy were to grow, the industry were to open, are we capable of keeping the lights on? So that's the question we're answering. The now and the immediate future, we're confident the lights will remain on. So that question is important. It's a future question, but it must be answered today. The foundations of answering the question must be today. Part of the reason why we experience load shedding is that when the experts, the engineers, and the scientists, the modelers were sharing with the powers that be that at the rate at which the economy was growing, at the rate at which we're connecting new customers to the grid, we are likely going to run into a problem in the future if we don't expand and diversify generation. We are going to have a situation of an electricity deficit. And in fact, true to form, we have experienced a load shedding. And of course, there were other subjective and objective factors that led to that. But principally, it's about a state's inability to anticipate, predict, and anticipate the future, and organize itself in a manner to answer the questions that will arise in the future. So we are going to obviate that situation. Not anymore will in our country have a situation where the country is subjected to load shedding. There are periods in the day where people don't have electricity, and you get to a situation where there's a significant amount of the population that don't have access to electricity. We are putting that behind us. So we're answering that question today. So I want to take you through what the situation looks like today as we speak, so that there's a general appreciation of the effort that we are making. We did say that we are going to introduce reforms. So if you like, the transformation of the electricity complex in the country. We have made the point that we're victims of a monopoly. When a monopoly is inefficient, is unable to deliver, it drags the country with it. So we took a decision that we need to introduce competition, we need to introduce new players, we need to diversify the mix and not just coal. Of course, coal will remain the backbone of our base load and generation capacity, but we need to ensure that we add other sources of energy. And that's why we then gave rise to this competitive market, and we're able to codify that or institutionalize that approach in the form of amendment to the principal piece of legislation that governs the electricity sector. We introduced the amendment to the Electricity Regulation Act. And in terms of that amendment, we then were introducing third-party providers of electricity. And those third parties will have access to the national grid, which is state-owned, and the rules to define that, we call it the wheeling framework, we put that into place. We're working on we also introduce amendments to the electricity regulations on new generation capacity. So this essentially ensuring that we anchor new players into the generation space. That it's important that there are regulation that determines the rules, so that the rules are fair, they are transparent, they are known to everyone, and in that way you are able to ensure that there's fair competition that is taking place. And then we have gazetted the electricity transmission regulations, and these regulations give rise to other players to be assigned the responsibility of rolling out transmission infrastructure. For us to be able to achieve energy security, like I said, we need new players. We need to diversify the energy sources. We know that wind and solar are going to be a big part of the energy mix going into the country. We need to enable the onboarding of wind and solar. And for that to happen, we needed to introduce the rules on how third parties can come in and help government to shape how we are going to introduce these new players. We are not going to burden the national fiscus. You know that the fiscal matrix has deteriorated. We don't want to overburden the South African taxpayer, but we must also protect the interest of the state. So that's what the transmission regulations are doing. And then we also are introducing the grid capacity allocation framework so that those who are generating new